Right, let's do a little skincare and then talk about what my thoughts on cottagecore are. So basically, I became interested in cottagecore pretty much when it started to go mainstream on like TikTok and stuff, and I started to see more queer people interact with it rather than when I think of cottagecore before 2020, I think of like pictures of farmyards and cottages in like England and stuff. I didn't really associate it with a queer space. I think it does as a perspective of life. It can be very whitewashed in mainstream media, and I think it has a danger, or it is in danger of becoming very centralized around like Western concepts of what it means to be cottagecore. As in, like, I feel like because it's become so mainstream lately, and unfortunately a lot of the like main attention is on like white cottagecore creators, it has the problem of becoming categorized or signaled as a white Western concept. So as in, cottagecore is solely focused around the idea of like British cottages, like the idea of owning a cabin in the woods in like America or something. And I feel like the fact that the attention means that like when POCs and black cottagecore folks, when they start sharing their view on cottagecore, it becomes other. It's like, oh, but that's not part of the mainstream view of cottagecore, if that makes sense. And I think that's a really big danger, considering the like whole concept of cottagecore is to debunk this idea of like a consumer society and going back to our roots. But the fact that these roots are like signaled around has like quite colonial undertones, and like the fact that some people call it like what's the fields in America called, like pericore. I don't know, I feel like sometimes I've mixed a relationship with this aesthetic, especially as I know I'm a white queer. I feel like I can access this space more, as in like if I was actually to decide to say fuck working a 9-to-5, fuck capitalism, let me move into a cabin, to the woods, to like sustain my own lifestyle, that is much more plausible for me as a white person. I have the privilege of doing that, whereas I feel like the people that need it the most, the people that want to escape the places that are stigmatizing them the most, can't access it because there's not a means to get to it. But yeah, I just think it's really interesting in terms of queerness, because for so long queer spaces were represented through urban spaces, so through the city. That's like the places we could meet up, and that's where we can meet other queers. We had to run away from like that suburban lifestyle because we weren't accepted at home, and we could find people in the city that would accept us. I changed my camera angle because it was not a great angle. But yeah, what was I saying? Yeah, because of zoning laws, obviously, and the zoning laws affecting black and POC queer and trans folk the most, like we've been pushed out of these urban spaces, and a lot of obviously queer communities and queer spaces in the city then got gentrified. So I feel like cottagecore for us is a way of like reclaiming the space that we initially can't access, because cottagecore is about like setting up your own home space, and like a lot of times throughout history we obviously can't find our solace at home, a solace with the people we need it the most. So I feel like cottagecore is our way of like relocating the found family idea in a certain environment and space, if that makes sense. Which I think is really interesting, but I think it's just like important when talking about this, and how interesting it is to bring up like the idea of like colonialism and whiteness, and how this like obviously interacts with the sphere of the core. And obviously like I'm not the first person to say this. A lot of black creators and black cottagecore creators have been saying this and pointing out the problems with certain aesthetics being like whitewashed or being centralized around Western ideologies. But I still think it's a really interesting concept, and I love like exploring it within how I approach life, not just in a general perspective way, not in just like the way I dress or the way I do certain things, if that makes sense, like the general way I approach life. So yeah, my makeup was done. Literally didn't do that much, just a bit of concealer and blush. And now we're gonna, I think I have some baking to do, and I also wanna obviously do some painting and go for a picnic. But the weather's doing the classic like spring weather where it's like cloudy most of the day and then you get like odd splashes of sunshine. Let's go. Alright guys, it's a little bit chilly, so I put on a jumper, but I'm going to be making some monkey bread. I'm just going to be making the sweet dough, letting it rise for a little bit, and then we're going to be putting in that sexy cinnamon taste. And this is going to be for an afternoon tea snack. It should be good, it should be good. I think monkey bread and like sweet dough is like my favourite thing to make. Ooh.